Hey kids, it's Jurassic James, and on this Jurassic James Explains, we're looking at Allosaurus. So same rules apply, oldest to newest models, and let's get started. So first of all, Allosaurus, the official name, the genus that was recognized was in 1877 by Marsh, the Bone Wars. The unfortunate thing with Allosaurus is, well, it lives in the late Jurassic North America. It's the most common predatory or theropod eating dinosaur in that region. Because of the time it was discovered, it was really weird because paleontology starts in Europe. And because Europe was a bunch of islands for most of its prehistoric history, a lot of the animals were smaller. So we see here the Megalosaurus, those guys, so they're like 15, 20-foot dinosaurs. When paleontology comes to North America and they're going out west to the Badlands, they're seeing all these giant, by their standards, giant animals, and Allosaurus being almost 30 feet, 35 feet long, that's a really big deal. So the thing with Allosaurus in general that I want you to walk away from with this video from is it unfortunately lives in the shadow of T-Rex. And what I'm saying is, when we know Tyrannosaurus Rex wasn't named to 1905, so for all this time we have Allosaurus, like 20 plus years, we have Allosaurus being the top predator, the largest known dinosaur in prehistoric time, as paleontology is unfolding in the world. So before that time of Tyrannosaurus Rex was known, Allosaurus was that big guy. In Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's book, The Lost World, the movies, you have Allosaurus being the main, predator dinosaur. But since T-Rex is seen as like this generic background dinosaur, and to me, generic, like, I don't know, like my brain doesn't allow someone to call it generic, right? So first and foremost, I'm going to point out this guy here. Ooh, that's cool. So my oldest one here is a 1988 Carnegie, and this guy, like I said, it has that, like, again, the quote generic large theropod look. One of the major features of Allosaurus is that they have very kind of narrow heads, and they have these two crests right in front of their eye. So it does acknowledge that crest right there, but given pop culture beliefs, understanding, this could have just been a T-Rex with longer arms and 3 fingers. It's that general look that people associate with dinosaurs. I remind you that there is no such thing as a general look for a dinosaur, though, because every theropod is uniquely adapted to its environment, its conditions for mate selection, for hunting. So but I think there's this kind of general look in people's minds, and Allosaurus fits that bill. I remember I was training a tour guide at the museum once, and he was like that standard issue kind of view of Allosaurus. So this guy, like I said, it hits all the main points though. There are 3 toes in the middle, 1 little dew collar here. That's 3 hands. They're actually going palm to palm. It's a pre-Jurassic Park. And again, it has that crest, but overall, it gets the point across, but it's not quite there. There is an upgrade to this model from what you're seeing here. And one thing to point out is this is a safari, and there's no year on it. But the idea is that essentially it's the same paint job, basically, but the stance is very different. So this animal is designed to be actively hunting and attacking. We do see a lot of injuries on these guys. So we think they're hunting the sauropod long necks, so the Morrison, and they're fighting their prey. But overall, it has all the same number of toes and fingers. It's hitting the main points. The skull is somewhat better with the crest right there, but overall, you're seeing this general look. This guy here is one of those, I should say this is the oldest. Again, these guys, I don't think they're all supposed to be Allosauruses, but when you get that pack of 10 in the 80s or 90s dinosaur toys at the grocery store, this guy's in there. I think he's supposed to be Allosaurus or not T-Rex. I don't know, but that's why I have this one, and this guy. One of these is supposed to be Allosaurus, or if not all of them, for their prospective market. The ones that I can tell are different species. That little pack, I put them with their species. If it has horns on his nose, a little horn on his nose, it's Ceratosaurus. If it has 2 little fingers and it's bigger, it's Tyrannosaurus. But with the Allosaurus, you don't have to tell. Next, I have these guys here. These are actually my first big Allosaurus figures. And this guy, it couldn't be more wrong. Yes, it has 3 fingers. Yes, it has 3 toes. There's no dew claw, little toe. It's standing like a kangaroo on its tail. It has this kind of lumpy body. This is a very old. I got this in the 90s, which I know for you kids is a long time ago. It's the last century. But the idea is that this is an even older view of the animal. And often in case we see in dollar stores or cheaper or Walmart, you'll see figures that aren't entirely super accurate. But again, I just, as a kid, I just wanted a big Allosaurus. They did a repaint, so I was like, yay, I like repaints. I think you guys know that by now. Moving forward, I want to point out so we're still in the 90s, and this is, I believe, 96 Allosaurus for Safari. So this guy is starting to lean into the scientific realm. The tail is still, in my opinion, a little too short and thin. It's designed for it to sit on the tail for balance purposes, and I get the engineering there. The hands are palm to palm. This is post Jurassic Park. They still stuck to it. Great. The crest and the eyes are more, more established, and it's a pretty good model. I can tell you that the Safari tubes come with the baby, so they have the big hands, big feet, big eyes, small nose. That's kind of cool for that figure. Then you go to Walmart or some dollar stores and you see this guy. Now this guy, I've seen this figure before. It didn't have a name on it, but I found this particular one, and the name, it says Allosaurus. So there again, you see this idea of a quote generic look for the animal. What makes me most upset, other than the skull being just horrific, is that there's 5 fingers, and I don't want to be that guy. Like, I can't think of any theropod other than the Triassic primitive ones that would have had 5 possible digits. It's so upsetting. They didn't even look at a book or, a museum or nothing. They Googled nothing. But anyway, so it's supposed to be an Allosaurus, and in my collection, I keep this one in the back because it's super not accurate, but, my goodness. But again, there it is. So, this is a the Lost World Jurassic Park Allosaurus. There was a set that like a lab set where you can, repair it. I bought just online on eBay, so I'm missing the skin part that comes off, but let the ribs come out, the skin on the tail breaks off, so the idea of the animal is very damaged and you're trying to repair it, right? But overall, it was my first super accurate model that was, wasn't a Carnegie, and the only thing, of course, the hands are the Jurassic Park style hands that are going that way, but they are pretty defined fingers, the crest over the eye are beautiful. The feet are pretty nice. This was a nice looking model. So I did not the wrists are wrong. The rest of it looks pretty good. So I wasn't too angry about it. 1999, when I was a kid, fun story. When I was a kid, we would go to church, and we would go to church in the morning and at night. And I remember always being like, why would we go home, eat, get comfortable, and then get up again? But life is what it is. And you're a kid, you have no rights. So I remember when Walking with Dinosaurs came out, I was so excited about it, and I begged my parents, saying, please stay home, can I please stay home from church this one night to see this one documentary, because this, kids, it's before iPads and recording and TiVo, and I remember it was like they were going to play it, and that was, it at the time. And I remember they approved it, and I stayed home, and I was so happy. And the only one I have from that line is they had smaller figures they sold here and there, but there was this large foam Allosaurus that looks like the one in the documentary. The only problem with this is I don't generally like foam dinosaurs because the foam, this outer skin, usually gets really brittle. I spent money on an Apatosaurus once that was like that big, not Walking Dinosaurs, but a different Apatosaurus, and I remember it, 5 years later, the skin got really crisply and it broke, and the cotton, it was just really upsetting. So I usually stick to hard plastic like these guys, but this one's a leftover. It's one of the few rubber ones I have from that time that's still, and I can see some wear and tear overall, but to hit the points, the feet have the 3 toes in the front. One thing to point out the theropod, usually the middle toe, which is the, if you have 1, 2, 3, second toe, that one is, 1, the dew claw, 2, 3. The third toe is usually longer. And fun fact, the toes on the inside, they have 2 toe bones here, 1, 2, 3 in there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 in there. So even though this is the longest one, they have different numbers of bones in its feet, and that's for all theropod dinosaurs. But the wrists are the Jurassic Park style. They have the crest here, like the documentary. So it's a nice model. I would not probably today go out of my way to get it, but I have it now, and it is a good history marker of that series, what it meant. But next we go forward into the 2000s with 07, I believe, this Safari. Yes. So this guy to me is looking more Allosaurian. The wrists are palm to palm. There's the crest over the eye. So you're seeing that general trend. The tail is all right. It can be longer, but there's a balancing which I get for engineering. The feet I love because they're not these giant padded. They look more like they would probably look in real life. Have the dew claw on the side. Everything's there. Then we have the Papo figure, which was Papo. A lot of the figures they have, they model in Jurassic Park actually, but this is before Allosaurus was in Jurassic Park. So what I like is the crest. The only thing I have trouble with the balancing of it, which is not the best. But like these neural spines being, or spikes being here, that's not based on anything. I mean, the scales in general, I'm not aware of any Allosaurus skin impressions or anything. There could be, I just have not read about it myself. But overall, it's an articulate jaw. You can see the tongue right there. It's a pretty nice looking model. I just think that's kind of unusual. But if you're trying to stand out from T-Rex or Raptors, I get it. Next we have, let's make him lean on the other guy because we're standing. So I will say this, and I won't back down. When Jurassic World came out, I want the kids to understand that when I was a kid, and you know, the Jurassic Park series comes out, and there's all these toys. So when Jurassic World was coming out, initially I was like, this is gonna be really great, a lot of toys. And they only had, I think Hasbro only did like 12, 15 notable toys. And half of them were those hybrids that were like a Triceratops Stegosaurus hybrid, which I personally hate those. Sorry, hate this wrong word. I loathe them. Not love, loathe. So the idea is that when I saw, this is like, of the first, I think I only bought like 3 figures from that line, or maybe even 2. And it was this Allosaurus here. Again, the dino damage is just an open wound. The tail's too short because of packaging purposes. The hands look like people arms with 3 fingers that are like the Jurassic Park style. So it was not the best figure, but I did think like it was the fact that the head can be controlled, which we see that in later Jurassic World figures. But that was kind of neat. But other than that, it's not like, I mean, it has enough of the parts to say it is an Allosaurus. So I'll give them that. But it's still like not the best in my opinion, but interesting. So I'll move forward. Let's see, we have, who was this again? This was, I think, was it Mojo? No, Mojo, yeah. So we're going to Hobby Lobby, down to the toy section or model section. Yeah, this guy here. Again, for engineering purposes, the feet are pretty big. It looks pretty big. The head is actually too small, in my opinion, or too short or truncated. But overall, you're getting the major parts. Again, this line of spines are not like a Spinosaurus neurospine, or more like giant scale bumps or something. But overall, you're seeing a pretty interesting animal. Now, I'm going over these kind of fast, but I want to go over Allosaurus, its history and story real quick. But again, this guy it kind of went backwards with the hands and went back to the Jurassic Park style. And at some point I'm wondering, do the toy companies like not know, or are they trying to do what's more familiar for the guests, or for the customer, right? But this is, I believe it's Schlee, because Schlee's put their names on their toys. And so the idea is that you have this kind of like big, it's more of a boxy-ish head, but it has the crest, it has all the number of toes. I do love the skin texture. Not that I know it's accurate to Allosaurus. I'm not sure about that, but just a nice texture. It's really cool looking, and the animal feels nice to hold it. I don't know, but really cool model. And to me, when I first saw this, my first thought, although it's not, was juvenile, because it has the proportions of its features just seem like a juvenile, like a teenage dinosaur. I don't know why, but that's kind of what I see. Like the years of training. When I see this, I think that basically, not that they intended it to be. So then we go backwards in time, and like Burlington or Marshalls or Ross, these stores that do the discount stores, they will have a pack of dinosaurs that are in. Some of those packs are like grossly mislabeled. It's very upsetting. But this is supposed to be an Allosaurus. But I mean, to me, the bare minimum, other than having the 3 prominent fingers, is to have a crest in front of the eye. That's something that the Allosaurus just has. So when these guys don't have that, it's like you're missing that. Now, what we call a diagnostic feature, so like a doctor diagnoses you with a disease kind of thing, there are certain features you see on an animal, you go, oh, that's this animal. It's humans are walking upright with thumbs and big brains. That's a human. It's different from, I mean, gorillas can walk upright, so do chimps, but we do it differently. We have longer legs. So those features are what we look for. For Allosaurus, that crest is what we look for. The tail is almost insulting at this point, and it doesn't balance well. And that's one thing I find funny or interesting, is that these toy makers will make smaller tails to fit the boxes, and then the toy can't stand up. And it's like, that's why they have big tails. They help them stand and run. They have muscles and attachments. But anyway, so I kind of just keep this guy bent forward. Next we have, now this one is one of in my opinion, one of the better Allosaurus models out there. It's one of the newer ones. I think it's 2019. No, wait. Yeah, 2019 Safari. So this is one of the ones I would, I already did my website, but I would probably, if I did it again, I would use this one as the model for Allosaurus. It's very nice. And what's really cool is that it's not, the skin isn't just like stuck to the skeleton. There's a lot of meat there. There's musculature. You can see that kind of in the model. It's kind of a thicker animal. I like that a lot. And the palms are just perfect. They're palm to palm kind of thing. Then you go to Walmart, and there's a new company there. They have these toys of T-Rex, Spinosaurus, Allosaurus, Ceratosaurus. I think they're called. Doesn't tell you the name. Nope, no name. Is it Mo? Just symbols. Anyway, I've seen some Walmart. So what I like is that his head has this nice prominent crest. The jaw is articulate. The tongue can stick up like that. The hands are Jurassic Park style. The feet. The only thing with this guy in general is the head. It seems too big, and the body seems too small, which is interesting. And of course, it's balancing on his tail, kind of, like kangaroo style. So again, engineering situation, but the body seems way smaller than the head. So that's kind of like a backwards thing, you know. The other guy we saw earlier, and we're getting to our little area here. Then we get to the main event for this review for these figures. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom comes along. The volcanoes erupt. Spoiler: the volcanoes erupting, and and Claire and the screaming kid Franklin are in the ball and spinning. And an Allosaurus, what they don't tell you, was juvenile Allosaurus runs up right next to them, and then it trips or something. So here we get that juvenile Allosaurus. Now overall, they don't let go of that twisted wrist. The crest is made smaller because it's juvenile, so it's not as developed. Much like antlers on a deer or something like that. You know, the babies we find of certain animals, we believe, you know, they have smaller crests, smaller noses. They have these features because they're just hatching, and they develop those features more that we recognize in adults as they hit maturity. You know, the main complaint I had with this guy, and I mentioned it earlier, technically, is these. I call them rat tails. So you ever see like a file? They use to file things down. There's some really narrow handle about rat tails, and they give these dinosaurs like the tail should be like going out like this to a point. It should be thicker. It should be more musculature. When you go to museums, you look at that backbone, and there's these little ridges coming up and like that. Those are muscles attaching around that. So it's a really big tail in a sense. And this guy lacks that, which is upsetting. But I was so happy to get it. And then they did like the, you know, Mattel did a thing where they're just putting out more and more toys, and they have the adult version in anticipation of the movie. So again, I thought I was excited because it from here forward, it's pretty neat. It has nice proportions. The feet are still kind of weird. It's again an engineering thing, that extra pad there like that. But overall, you're seeing the main. Yeah, it does like a little thing with the hands, and that's it. But overall, I mean, the crest looks like, I don't know, it feels like Aquaman. I don't know, something going on there. But overall, it's okay. But then it's that darn rat tail. So I'm just so annoyed by that. But I mean, I'd rather them just have the tail come to here, come off. You can just plug in a full tail for the kids, you know. But whatever. So it's supposed to be the adult version, although they're the same price point and the same size. But then I went to the store, and they had this guy. So they essentially took this body plan and just scaled it up to a different price point, basically. I would say size, but it's really a price point. And then I will find my official Scissors Jurassic James. Before I do that, I want to show you the box, because obviously there's the animal, and then you look back here, and there's all the why you should buy it stuff. And then we take the scissors, and we release the Kraken. That's that seat noise. And the feet aren't attached, even better. And this guy, if you push the button, doesn't make any noise, because why? This little tab here is blocking the battery. So, what's really neat about this is, one, it's just, like I said, it's just an upgrade to this guy, from this guy. Or I should say gals, Jurassic Park to Jurassic World. So let's look at it. So first and foremost, we have our DNA code, because everyone needs to see that. The trailer shows this Allosaurus, basically, so it's a character in the movie. Like I said, it's really neat. Again, they gave it a rat tail for some reason. It's still, like, they could have easily just made, I don't know. But the ankles rotate, which is really neat. I like that the dew claw rotates on the ankle. That's nice. The tail, your DNA is showing. No control here, just randomly, even less impressive. Okay, but if you push that, it does this. So that's kind of cool. The skull is kind of narrow. Now, one thing, when you go to museums, if you've seen Allosaurus skeleton, and Allosaurus is actually a very, because there's so many of them, it's a very well-represented dinosaur in museums. So if you go see one, try to walk right in front of it and look at it, and you'll see where the nose, goes like this, and the eyes don't really have forward vision. That's what we call stereoscopic vision. Stereo, as in like the stairs around you, scopic vision. We as humans and T-Rexes we look out of one eye and use the other eye as like depth perception. When you have your nose in a way like a horse or a duckbill, that makes your eyes kind of go out. So Allosaurus has kind of more of a broader range of eyes than most later predators. So you can really see it in the skull actually. What you're not seeing, I didn't mention earlier, is that you can have your dino damage, and how do you do it? There you go. And then you can see more, you can see ribs and then organs, because other things, most likely a Tyrannosaur will harass or bite it. But that's kind of cool actually. I like that actually. But overall, you're seeing the animal, and this is a pretty neat. It's not entirely scientifically accurate, but if the tail was bigger, it'd be a perfect model. But it does balance pretty well, so I'll give them that. Now, last but not least in this note, before we get to the final thoughts, within the Jurassic world, I've mentioned the Morrison Formation, the late Jurassic North America, and how we have all these sauropods and things. But within the Jurassic World series, what animals would it be found with? Well, it will be found with our buddy Stegosaurus. It would be found with its lesser populated, smaller rival Ceratosaurus, the horn lizard. It would also be found with a Titan, Apatosaurus, which is right there. I like the mouth opens. I don't know why it's so cool to me. I already did the video of this guy. I should stop drooling. And then finally, for the sake of our storytelling, the gigantic Brachiosaurus here. So these guys are there. Now, I will say this is not entirely to scale, but close, pretty close. But the idea is that this is Allosaurus. Now, there are other animals in the environment of the late Jurassic that are bigger than Allosaurus, but it's the most common one, therefore it's the most well-known predator. But the idea is that these are its mates. So you would see Triceratops with T-Rex, and then Allosaurus, there's the late Cretaceous. These guys are late Jurassic in North America. So they're separated by time in that sense. But back on the main storyline with Allosaurus is that it was the biggest predator known. It was in all the movies, it was in the books, and then they found T-Rex. And when T-Rex, people say, why did T-Rex get so popular? It's because it had the American people behind it. But I'm saying it had cinema, movies. So what happened basically was after World War I, this is a shortened, abridged version. After World War I, America found this world power kind of thing, and of course after World War II, it really takes off. So our movies are big, our cinema, our Hollywood, and Tyrannosaurus Rex is bigger than Allosaurus, so therefore Tyrannosaurus Rex is cast in the movie every time. From Land Before Time to Jurassic Park to all the King Kong movie, like these animals are there. So Allosaurus then becomes a shadow animal to T-Rex, which is most unfortunate because Allosaurus is a very amazing animal. It's all these great traits, but because of the size and all that, it is now in this back burner. But in some ways, I will tell you this, with Allosaurus, I actually personally like it more than T-Rex. And the idea behind that is a Tyrannosaurus Rex, other than Alamosaurus, it's the largest animal in the environment. It's going to be eating duckbills and everyone else is just biting, like a dog biting them. Allosaurus is like living with giants. We see them fight. We see injuries on the animals from fighting these herbivores. In fact, I did a lecture recently on the pubis bone in the hip having a hole in it the same size as the Stegosaurus tail spike. How we have caudal or tail vertebra with holes in them where the tail spike of the Stegosaurus went in. We see they're actually fighting these animals. And the coolest thing of all is a site where it was an Allosaurus nesting site, essentially, where they drug these sauropod bones there, and you see bite marks from adults and bite marks from baby Allosauruses. And that to me is so cool. I don't know. But, also the name Allosaurus means different lizard because of the shape of its vertebrae. It's different than other theropods. Remember, it's from the Bone Wars, so Cope and Marsh are just finding partial skeletons and throwing them up. So despite all that, the original bones are being questioned. A holotype, if you don't know, is the first one recognized and described of a species. So the idea is that the holotype is being questioned because it was partial, and Cope and Marsh are finding other things and naming them Allosaurus. And I will close with this one idea that when I was in junior college, Lone Star College, I did an artist project on dinosaurs, right, of course, and how they evolved. And my professor, Tom Hobbs, gave me a copy of Marsh's book. and I was going through it, and there was all these dinosaurs that I had never heard of from the late Jurassic Morse formation, and I began Googling them, and they were all like Allosauruses because they were finding these skeletons, naming them, well, not whole skeletons, they were finding partial skeletons, naming them, and then realizing, oh, they're the same animal later on in paleontology. People will figure it out. But anyway, that's Allosaurus in a nutshell. I might do a part 2, because part 1 was just like, get through the crowd. Part 2 will be like, more information. That being said, I'll see you guys later, and thank you for tuning in.